I think that Salem is perhaps the city within the United States that's the most accepting of different belief systems. And because of that, when they seek the true nature of the heart of the people that are bringing forth enlightenment, that they're very warm, very receptive. And we've had just a very enjoyable time. We love it here. It's been a wonderful city to reach out to.
I'm Phil Wyman, and I'm the pastor of the Gathering. And we've been here for about 8 years. Came from Southern California with another family. And so 8 years ago we started this church. And part of our dream was to establish a church that was trying to break some of the conventional attitudes that people have about church, that it's not fun, it's a boring place, it's not relevant, it's somehow outdated and outmoded.
Since about the 80s, it's called the third wave in Christendom, and it's kind of like this charismatic, very free-form type of worship. It started around in the 80s, and it's just grown, and there's all sorts of charismatic churches all around. They're called third wave, and they embrace the things of the Spirit. They embrace healings and miracles. They embrace prophetic utterances. They teach the Bible in a sensible way that people can understand, and they have great new music that's not from 200 years ago.
The kingdom of God is not meat and drink.
I'm with the Gathering. I actually moved up here in January for the Gathering. I had visited in October during Halloween time. I'd gotten in touch with Phil, the pastor over here, and I just thought it was really cool what they were doing. You know, the kind of, if you want to use the word ministry, they're kind of breaking down the barriers between the pagan community and the Christian community and showing them how they can, you know, just kind of share Salem, you know, together. And I just thought it was really fascinating.
I grew up Catholic, and to me there was a lot of rules and regulations, and so I actually was not a good Catholic in my adult years. And it's only been since '99 actually that I actually have a personal relationship with Jesus. And that's now why I call myself a Christian now rather than before when I was a Catholic, because there's just different beliefs and too many rules and regulations, whereas we're that type of church that isn't on so many rules, but we're into relationships and long-lasting ones.
There's a sign outside that says, "Short on rules, long on relationships," and that really is what struck me. And I walked in that door the following Sunday at 6 o'clock and haven't looked back.
They're inviting you with open arms rather than just say, you know, like knocking on your door and say, "Hey, come and join us." They're giving you some information and some insight, and just it's a very warm welcome rather than just say, you know, here, just read this and follow it. You know, it's not just strict guidelines. It's a really nice, warm, cozy welcome with lots of growing room.
It was our concern that there were a number of people who actually feared or disliked a lot of the traditions of Christianity, and we felt that there was a place to perhaps be a little more generous in our approach toward those people. So we've actually experienced some of our own difficulties in respect to the way we do church. We've been removed from a denomination because we made friends with the pagans in town, and there were people probably who were superstitious about making friends with witches, and that obviously didn't sit well with them that we were making friends with them, so we were removed from our denomination. And so for the people who have disliked church as a whole, we understand if people who've been abused by it, have been hurt by it, have been somehow felt rejected by some of the modes of traditional Christianity. And we understand that because we've been there.
The main mission of the Gathering is to minister to those who feel left out. And of course, the majority of those people happen to be the pagans, the witches, the druids. But we have the philosophy of forming friendships and relations, which is what Jesus did, basically. We don't judge you. And we believe that if we form those relationships and they see how we live our lives, that maybe they might be inspired to try it out. But the fact is that pagans and witches have no problem entering our space whatsoever. We're very welcoming and embracing of them.
What we attempt to do is to share the love of God, and in that people are able to come into an interaction with the Creator and it not be focused on the religious mindset, and not be focused on dogma, not be focused on the thoughts and controls of man. So with that, when they see that we truly believe what we believe, and they see that we truly are ones that extend a hand and a heart of love, then we have a great response. And we see people opening up their hearts. Most people are not resistant to the truth, and they're not resistant to the Bible, they're not resistant to the teachings of Jesus. They're resistant to the way that man has made religion and trying to build big buildings and fill up pockets with money, that we instead are offering the virtues of what it means to walk with Christ.
As with anything, I like the fact that they're here and they're providing something for Salem. And if it can reduce my property taxes, that's cool. In terms of yet another church, again, I'm an atheist, I don't necessarily go to church, but I like that they're not just insular and they have outreaches for the community, and they're not proselytizing as much as some other Christians I know.
I don't know that people are trying to ignore their faith as much as I think they're a little bit afraid of interacting with other people in respect to faith. There's an anticipation that Christianity or any kind of faith system is going to impose its values on you and somehow try and convert you at that moment and make you believe what they believe. Our view has been that that's not the way to do Christianity. I don't see Jesus trying to force feed his beliefs down other people's throats, but rather there's just this interaction of life that occurs. I share my life with you, you share your life with me, and in doing so, somehow spirituality occurs because God is a part of our lives.
We reach out to the pagan community with a heart of love and acceptance for who they are as individuals, that though we may not agree completely with what their belief system is, we do love them for who they are, and we also seek to not offend and judge and condemn, but to present life and to love them and to present truth and to do it in a non-judgmental, non-argumentative way.
Christians themselves, I found, particularly in some born-again groups, like the Campus Crusaders for Christ over at UMass Amherst, for example. It wasn't so much that they didn't accept me, it was that I had to merge like a chameleon into them to be accepted, and at least go along with them. I don't have to do that here. Phil's cool with me not being, not going to his services and yet helping out on things like movie nights and other things that would interest me as an individual.
With the neo-pagan community, which is larger in Salem than certainly probably any city of its size in the United States, it makes this a city where we can interact with the pagan community, and we can, I think, prove ourselves by walking out in a friendly relationship with them, that we're not going to reject them because they're witches. We're not going to be hateful toward them because they're witches. It gives us an opportunity to show that Jesus cares about witches as much as he cares about anybody else, and that Christianity doesn't have to be an aggressive religion toward them. But also, just this whole Boston area, it's a very eclectic area with the high education level, all the universities and people of different religions or lack of religion. It makes this area just perhaps a fertile experiment ground for trying to do a kind of accepting Christianity that wants to wrap its arms around all people. But Salem, I love Salem.
I had heard rumors of it being the quote-unquote witch city, and I went on the internet to research it and see if it was true. And I found out that was basically like the mecca for witchcraft or neo-paganism. And so I actually got in touch with Phil that way. I read his dissertation on the internet about neo-paganism, and so I thought it was really cool. And that was basically my introduction to neo-paganism.
I remember hearing, about witches being really real. My parents traveled to Asia and different things quite a lot, and have seen a lot of things. So, but it's changed a lot because I know that the supernatural aspect isn't a fantasized thing, but it's absolutely real. And regardless of my views on how they necessarily flow in that supernatural aspect, it is a real thing. Obviously there are people. They're not, just, cursing Snow White or, whatever. So I really think I enjoy interacting. I enjoy the openness that many of them have. And because most people, when they come into the supernatural, it's because they start to have experiences or encounters. They're looking for a way that can be real in their life and not just have people think that they're weird. And so I really appreciate how they're searching those things out and the things that they don't understand. And where they go with that, of course, I've gone a different place. I believe differently. But I bless their journeys towards the truth, so.
I was also involved in the cult myself for 6 or 7 years. I studied Wicca and witchcraft, and there was nothing in there about praying evil on anybody. It was praying good.
I've met a lot of witches around here, and I like learning about their beliefs, and I just want to break down the barrier between the two so that there's an actual dialogue about it. And I've been reading more about their beliefs, and I mean, not that I want to become a witch, but I really want to break down that whole, us against them mentality.
I've never had a negative view of them. I actually wanted to learn more about Wiccan, so I would look into it. Yeah, I've learned a little bit, and I like that they're very earth-based beliefs, and I like that they're one with the earth, and it's nice to see that.
As far as Salem goes, we like to reach out to everybody. I mean, we believe that everybody has a God-shaped vacuum in them, that everybody is looking, they want to be loved, they have a desire and a need to be loved, and that God is the fulfillment of that He can really give them. He's the only one that can really fulfill that need. So we would like to share that message with everybody and give them an opportunity, but we don't want to cram it down people's throats.
What we achieve by coming to Salem is getting away from judgmental, critical forms of Christianity, and what we do instead is live a life that is of the virtues of what Jesus did when He was here on this earth, and was one that was quick to come against the religious spirit, but was quick also to love and provide charity and truth to people.
It's interesting to watch my beliefs change, as it were, with being exposed to different beliefs, and not necessarily that I'm taking from them, but I'm learning more about people of different beliefs, and so just learning how to love them like people. Back home I didn't really know very many witches or druids or anything like that, so it's kind of, I guess, as I grow closer to people, my beliefs change, and as I grow as a person, my beliefs change. So
I think interfaith dialogue in many respects, some respects obviously, I'm a Christian, Jesus is the way, but in some ways I really like it because for so long we've made religion the point, and for so long we've made it a wall, and white with blue eyes, Aryan, like race, religion, all those things. We made it something that divides us in unhealthy ways. Obviously, there'll be things that divide us. If there is truth, there is truth. But I think it's really good that we're starting to see that maybe just these 10-step things or doing this right or doing that wrong isn't necessarily the point. The point is what is out there, you know, what is real to my life and what will change my life. And I think it's a better environment because God is more free to move because people are looking at Him instead of what necessarily they can do.
Christianity then becomes a mosaic, and every time somebody new discovers that gospel, there's a new broken piece of glass in the mosaic that brings out a different beautiful color.
My favorite part about the conference was not only in Christendom, like, you know, and through Christianity, the different beliefs that were brought together. I mean, you had the Orthodox, you had the liberal, you had this, that, and the other. You had a dude that had a church in a bar. I mean, that just was killer. But you had all these people teaching at the same time. And then you brought in witches for a group dialogue and atheists for a group dialogue. And basically, I mean, I thought the coolest part about it was how it taught Christians not to be jerks. Because I have a tendency, and a lot of people have a tendency to be jerks, you know, and not realize it.
Some of the Christian community shun, you know, the pagan community around here, and I don't know. I think we're probably the only one that's accepting of it. We're not trying to convert anybody. We, like I said, we just present the Word of God, you know, what we consider the truth to them, and we leave it alone. You know, they're welcome here. We're happy to have them. But yeah, I've seen Christian organizations that you know, that believe that they're praying against us. That there's an element of evil into what they're doing, and you know, and if you have any idea of the occult in the area and the pagans and the witches, you know that that's not the truth. They're not praying against us. It goes totally against everything they believe.
There are some people out there, some Christians, who don't think what we're doing is real or true, and then there's people who aren't Christians who believe that. But then there's the pagans who love us. But it's really because I think we're loving on them, because we don't force ourselves on them. We don't say you need to be like this, you need to know Jesus or anything like that. It's really all about loving others and being friends with them just because they're people too. So.
We get a lot of resistance from you know, other people of the Christian faith that are just more traditional and religious in nature. They don't understand it. They don't understand how dream interpretation fits in with the biblical model, and just don't have a paradigm for it. So they think it's like New Age, and just kind of like we're being like a bad influence on the church or something like that, which is really not what we're doing.
These Christians that were very mean-spirited towards the witches, and we came to their defense, came to the witches' support and love, and consequently spent hours of sharing truth, interacting with them, and having a real sense of walking in virtue with one another.
The variety of religious groups that we've been working with, they've been so different from one another. Although most of the groups we've served with are Christian groups for the most